Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Part 1, Chapter 2, The Dark Baptism. See, I feel like me forcing myself to say part is just going to make the intro worse. I need to say Season 1.
But it's professional.
It's still Season 1, regardless of how Netflix are referred to it.
It's Part 1.
It's still Season 1, goddammit.
You'll get used to it.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, like episode 9 or 10, at that point, who cares?
I care. Netflix cares.
No, they don't.
Well, they might.
They don't. They care about the hashtags being used. That's about it.
Yeah, well, as long as you hashtag it with the right title, I'm sure it'll be fine.
I don't put in Part 1 or Season 1.
I wasn't referring to that. I was referring to the Chilling
Tales.
Yes.
Which we totally did not do a take one of the intro, and I accidentally said Chilling Tales of Sabrina instead of Adventures. I totally did not do that. Filthy lies.
No, of course not. You would never do that, would you?
Filthy lies, the whole thing. So this was very much, I feel, episodes 1 and 2 were a 2-part pilot.
With 5 minutes on the end, too much.
Okay, sure. But still, like...
But it was, yeah. It rounded it off and had this monologue bit at the end where it's like, yep, that's the end of the intro.
Exactly. It's especially since almost not the very first scene, but like on the way back from the dinner in the cinema at the start of the first episode, Harvey said "I love you." She didn't say it back. She says that in this before she runs off for her dark baptism, and then of course the dark baptism itself is kind of the finale of the first 2-part episode. So it very much, as much as we complained a little bit last episode was like, oh, it just kind of felt like, I mean, the pacing was great. There was enough content in it for the whole hour. And I think I feel the same about this one. It feels like the pacing is not a problem in this show. It feels like it's moving at a really nice, steady rhythm, which is good. The biggest complaint I think we're going to have, which we did mention last episode, is the blurry edges, the fisheye effect that they're kind of going for.
Do you know what? It was so bad. Even early on, when she's just in the house.
I thought that's when it was worst, was the first couple of scenes.
Yeah. It got so bad that like 10 minutes in, I just had to stop and take a break. I'm like, I can't watch this. I've got to go. I've got to go away and look at something in focus.
I don't know why they are, because the show's actually really pretty. When it's not using that, it looks great, and when it is using that, you can tell that it would look great if that wasn't there.
It's just so I am struggling to remember a lot of the dialogue in those early scenes because in my head, all that was going is. Stop looking at the focus. Stop looking at it. Stop looking at it. Just stop it.
I mean, basically, Lord Blackwood, or Father Blackwood, he's just convincing Sabrina that, oh no, it's not evil to be a witch and to put your name in the Dark Lord's book.
Something about yada yada yada. It's a religion like any other. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. And obviously I said last episode about how, and they made it a bit more clear in this one, but how her being forced into this as if she doesn't have a choice, and that's kind of reiterated throughout the episode, where Zelda flat out says to Hilda, after she kills her and Hilda comes back to life.
As you do, yeah.
As you do. Which is basically just a heightened version of actual sibling rivalry, let's be honest. I mean, people compare this to the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've seen that, mentioned a few times, and I don't think it really is that similar to it, outside of the fact that there's like demons and shit kind of around. But that idea where it takes it and turns it up to 11 because it's supernatural and it can do that,
sure,
is very Buffy.
Yeah, I don't think the comparison in general. I don't think the comparison is that accurate.
I feel like people, it's very surface level. Oh, it's a supernatural show about a teen blonde, and that's it.
Yeah,
it's compared to Buffy because of that, and I don't feel that's fair because that's not.
It's similar on surface level premise alone.
Yes, but that's it.
Yeah.
It's very, very different in every other way.
Do you know? Speaking of the ants, that was actually one of the worst scenes with the fisheye for me.
When she woke up.
No. It's when she comes up through the ceiling.
Oh sure, yeah. Oh yeah. It's the scene when Hilda's talking to Sabrina in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got Zelda. It cuts to the floor above her. She's lying there on the floor, and you've got Salem watching her. And the camera is supposed. My eye is clearly supposed to be on Salem watching and him walking out the door. But
he walks into the blur.
No, he's never out of the blur. The focus is on the candle the whole time, and I don't get it. It feels like they just put the focus in the wrong place entirely.
I don't like fake focus. It's the same with some films from the 70s used this thing where they'd have like two focus like areas at the same time, and it would almost be like it was like a split frame almost, where you'd have one lens with someone in the foreground in focus and one lens with someone in the background in focus, and you'd have this weird thing where the background would be out of focus behind the person on the left until it hit a certain point, and then it would switch because the person on the right was further back, right? And
Yeah.
my camera's flipped, so if it looks like I'm doing my right and left wrong, that's why. But um, but like, and that really bugged me because you could see this line of where the focus would go, and it felt very unnatural to me. It's the same here with having this weird focus, this weird blur effect at the edges, and sometimes it's just kind of subtle, and sometimes it's really extreme. And when it is really extreme, all I can think of is like I was praising this for shooting in 2.35:1, and I'm like, if you cut off the blurry parts, you're basically just get back to 16:9. Sometimes it's even worse than that though. Sometimes it's like a strip in the middle that's in focus.
Yeah. At other points, it doesn't even feel like a strip. At points, it feels like there's a spotlight, like a circle on around a face, and that's it.
Yeah, it's a really obnoxious technique, and it's the worst part about the show.
It's genuinely ruining the enjoyment I'm having, because there are points where I'm like, oh, I'm into this, and then that comes up and it takes me completely out of the moment when it's that bad.
It was definitely at its worst in the first couple scenes. It was definitely present, but it was really extreme in those first couple of scenes, and it was really distracting. And again, if they're going for the idea that this is when she feels trapped and closed in, and that's when the Father Blackwood's talking to her, that's when her aunt's kind of try to talk to, like, I get why thematically they're going for it in these scenes, but it just is distracting. It just takes me out of it.
I don't think it's something I can acclimate to either.
Oh, sure.
I think this is going to be something that bugs me the whole show.
Which is why I don't think it's going to be worth mentioning every episode unless it specifically gets better or worse. At this point, we'll shut up about it because it will get annoying us complaining about it every episode.
Yeah, like I wanted to mention, if it's as bad as that moment I said with Salem and it was on the candle instead. If it's as bad as that, I'll bring it up.
Yeah. But worth mentioning, because there's scenes where it's not like that, and it just looks like a good show because it's got a really good art direction. Everything feels like it's in sync, and the way the design of the house, the design of the school, the design of not the design of the woods, but just everything about it. It feels like it's got a color palette.
I don't understand whose decision this thing was.
I want to compliment it here actually, because when it comes to color palette, I feel like so many things, and I'm going to compare it to Zack Snyder movies here. Zack Snyder movies do this thing where they just tint the entire screen to this obnoxious thing, right? It's almost the same thing with the fake blur. I don't want a fake color tint. If you're going to have a color palette, then design your show to have that color palette. And that is way more pleasing to the eye if you actually have these colors in the image there naturally than adding it in after the fact. And I'm not saying you can't color correct and you can't tweak it and things. Of course you can.
Everything does.
Yeah. But there's a point where it just feels like I'm watching the film through a filter. And I don't want that. I want it to look natural. And this show has a color palette. This is full of oranges and blacks and reds and autumny browns and colors. And it has this very consistent theme, and it works. It looks good. It doesn't feel like I'm watching some sort of weird thing, except the blurry part.
To a point where, when we see the white dress for the first time,
it sticks out.
It sticks out. Yeah. It's like, oh, we haven't seen anything that clean or that white.
And it's effective. Because of that, it's good.
Yeah, no, that's intentional, and I like this. But goddamn that lens.
But hey, I like the episode a lot though. Take away the blurriness, I like it because Susie is continually bullied at the school, and I actually really liked how this scene was shot, where the bullies are ripping down the Wicca poster, and she almost walks away, and she kind of stops, and she turns around and says, "Hey assholes," or whatever she says. It's framed like a western.
It was like like bag of dicks or something like that.
Was that what she said?
It was more, yeah, it was more than asshole. It definitely had it definitely had dicks in it.
But the framing was like a western. It was like it was the shot of like the standoff.
Yeah,
at either end of the hall.
Pistol.
Yeah. And then of course she gets a black eye, and Sabrina is like, "You can't tell me their names." So Sabrina goes to the Weird Sisters, and she makes a promise. It's actually a very juvenile thing where she crosses her fingers behind her back, which I think I'd criticise in a lot of shows for being weird and outdated, but in this, because it's got that weird kind of 50s feel.
Yeah, I still feel like it's a little at odds with, like, I was saying last episode how it felt like she was acting a lot older than she should be. With
Oh,
the way she
sure.
stalks into the prince. All these things, the way she speaks, and then you have this. It feels jarring.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got this kind of quirk to it. I think just makes it gets away with it.
Okay.
I think it gets away with it, but she gets the weird sisters, and they think it's going to be about the curse they put on her. She's like, no. I want your help dealing with these
Yeah,
boys.
it's just like, I don't care about the curse. It's been dealt with.
It's been dealt with. Salt baths. I'm fine. And she concocts this plan with them, and I really liked how all this stuff was shot with them like showing up out the woods, like they're an actual witches' coven coming out the woods, and like tempting the boys down in the main shaft, and very sultry, very. And I was glad when it turned out all to be like an illusion, because I was like, man, this is a bit extreme for them to all go this far, like agreeing to do all this just to like lay a trap on them, and then you kind of clock where it's going. You're like, oh wait a minute, they're not actually there. Who are they actually kissing? And then it's like they're kissing each other and photos. But then the sisters take it one step further and go full on horror with it, with the lights out and the demonic faces, which was cool. It was very well shot. I liked that scene.
Notably using an old camera and not a phone.
Yes, it was an old Polaroid.
I did feel that was an intriguing choice, given that we kind of established that it has to be reasonably present.
There's been enough references to other things that it has to be present, but they're avoiding any new technology so far.
Yeah.
Even the cars feel older.
Old, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they're necessarily old enough to be 50s, but they feel older, for sure.
They do, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I was digging all this, and so I was actually getting to at the start. This whole idea of the witchcraft and the putting the name in the book and giving her name over to the Dark Lord. That kind of connecting to the feminism side, where it's about her wanting free will, but also wanting power. And when she brings it up with the Weird Sisters, she goes, "No, you can't have both. Are you kidding me?" It's like, well, she's like, "Why not?" It's like, well, Dark Lord is a man, and I'm like, okay, so that was really hitting the nail on the head and making it clear for anyone who wasn't getting that connection.
Yeah.
But like, I appreciate that duality with the themes, and I think that's what you do with this, because even her aunties, especially, and now Hilda, of course, seems a bit more open to Sabrina doing what she wants, whereas Zelda's very like, no, you will sign the book, you will not embarrass me. She's the conservative mother,
good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, who will abide by the traditions and the rules. And she runs off, and she first goes to the party because her cousin says to her, hey, like, you won't be able to be around your friends after this, like, you're going to want to be away from them because you're going to be immortal and they're going to age and it'll be too painful, so you're going to drift away from them. So she goes to the party even though she wasn't going to originally, and she has this night with her friends, and it's all sweet, and she almost misses her dark baptism. She runs out of the woods, and it's when she's told that you have to give yourself over completely, and if you're called upon without question, it's like, that's not what you said when I asked you before. You said I would have free will, and that's when she sees a vision of her parents sort of saying run, and she but during all this,
her parents look there straight out. We say, oh, the show feels like it's kind of out of the 1960s.
Yeah.
Her parents look like they're out of the 1600s.
Yeah, even older, even further back. Yes.
Yeah.
But no. But I want to mention, of course, during all this, as she's almost signing the book, the Minotaur-esque, which is basically the representative of the Dark Lord. That's what the Dark Lord looks like, seemingly, based on everything we've seen so far.
Yeah.
We see images of that coming through the hell doorway and coming towards her and all these things, and we see it later again with Wardell, and because Wardell's like, I failed you, Dark Master, and she kisses the hoof.
Yeah, that left me a little confused. I'm not gonna lie. I was under the impression she was kind of a third party. I didn't. Maybe this is my bad, but I didn't realize she was working for him and trying to just make her part of the coven up until this point. Like, it felt like she was kind of doing her own thing.
Yeah, I was kind of getting that impression as well, but I mean, they've clearly told us here that that's not the case.
Yeah. It really kind of threw me because for the whole, because this is right at the end that we get that pretty much. So for like 2 whole episodes, I was under the impression that no, she's her own thing, she's got her own agenda. And then it was this, oh no, she's just for the Dark Lord. She's just making sure Sabrina goes through with it, like everyone else is.
Yeah, but again, if you take this as a 2-part like opener, this is kind of setting up the status quo where she's going to be at the school now permanently. She's going to be there trying to manipulate her back, and obviously it ends with the Dark Lord actually coming into the body of the principal to basically tell Sabrina, hey, you'll resist this for a while, but you're never going to last because you're immortal, and you will eventually give in. And again, so the themes of feminism and remaining strong and not giving in to the oppressive, system, all these themes are really clear. I think it's the best thing they could be exploring in the show for the most part. Like it gives it a bit more weight. It makes it more than just oh, there's a horror thing coming. I need to protect my friends, which is fine. But
yeah.
But part of why things like Buffy are remembered so well is because it was always about more. It was always it was about other things. Having rewatched season 2, season 2 is entirely about sex. It's about growing up and taking those steps and what teen romance means and realizing that it's not this ideal thing. It's about all those things, and it's a deep study of those themes, despite the fact that it's it's a goofy vampire show with one-liners and so on. And if that can pull even half of what a season of Buffy can do off, or even a quarter, let's be honest, Buffy's a high standard. That it'll be doing something.
It is a hit television show after all.
It is. It's a hit television show. It's the hit television show. So, I applaud it for attempting that. Now, also, cousin Ambrose sticking up for her as well, pretending there was like a protective spell on the house to save her when the literal witch hunt was coming after her to make her become a full witch.
Yeah.
And she's saying, no, I don't have to be in column A or column B. I can be column C. I can pick my own destiny.
Yeah.
So.
And I think fisheye lens aside,
yes,
this is where my biggest problem with the show is kind of falling in.
Which part?
This bit where she's like, oh, I'm going to do both. I'm going to pick my own,
Oh, sure, yeah.
In sentiment, sure. But I still don't care about the school stuff at all. I'm almost uninterested when it goes to that stuff compared to everything else.
I wouldn't say I'm uninterested. I think it's working well enough, and it's been definitely, like episode 1, it was definitely the smaller part, right? Yeah, this was,
No, it is. It's definitely smaller, but the idea that I'm supposed to care about her being with all her friends, when I'm like, but I don't care about any of that stuff is the problem.
Let me ask you this: Do you all equally not care about her and her relationship with Harvey? Because I feel like their relationship's quite sweet, and I think that's the main part of it you're supposed to latch on to in these first 2 episodes.
Yeah, I'm not really feeling it, to be honest.
It's very sort of cheesy and kind of simple, right? It's not, but I kind of respect it for being simpler because I'm actually really happy they're not doing any bullshit drama with it so far.
Do you know what I think? Almost my problem with it is again, I know this is playing into the whole it's timeless sort of thing, but
yeah.
You were just saying about about Buffy, right? Season 2, it's all about how it's not all this ideal stuff,
Yeah.
Whereas this kind of just like, no, everything's perfect. And I'm like, right, okay.
I'll be honest, I think that's where you go in season 2. That this is kind of the illusion of perfect, and it isn't actually perfect.
I get that, but it makes it uninteresting for me now, which is hard to, and it makes it hard for me to latch onto when I kind of find it so unreal. It
is unreal, but I don't necessarily think that's a negative because it's got this sentimentality to it, right?
Yeah.
And you're a cynical bastard, so sentimentality is not something that works for you. But it's kind of working for me. It's this idea of the idealistic. Because when you think of the 50s, you think of the
it's white picket fence America.
Yeah, it's that. It's Americana. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I get, that's what I mean. I get what it's going for, but I can't latch onto it, and it makes it really hard to connect to the point of her character and her arc. It makes it really hard to care about this side of it.
Is the witch stuff enough for you? Like, are you good on the witch stuff alone?
It is if the percentages of what I'm getting episode to episode is like this, then yes.
Okay.
But if it's like if it swaps over, I'm probably not going to like that episode very much.
I would expect a couple of episodes that probably flip more.
No, I'm expecting a couple, and I'm prepared to moderately dread those episodes. As long as they're not all like that.
Like I say, I think the way the stuff was handled, this one I was fine with. It's like I say, I like the way it was shot, the Western style scenes. It felt like a cool little moment, and then then having Gomez around the school being all the evil and creepy and actual witch like. Let's be honest, Michelle Gomez does look like a witch, just in terms of what you think of a witch. She looks like a witch.
She does.
Yes. So I'm on board. I'm on board. One of the things we never talked about in the first episode, actually, just compared to the original show, is that our cousin Ambrose is kind of the new Salem, and that the function that Salem had in the original show is kind of what he is now.
The advice.
The advice, and the one who's kind of there as a punishment, right? Salem wasn't trapped to the house; he was just trapped as a cat, but it was the same kind of idea. And then Salem.
I think being trapped as a cat's worse, to be honest.
I don't know, you get to sleep and eat, and that's about it. It's not the worst thing ever.
But you've got to be a goddamn cat.
I think you're underestimating the life of a cat and what you get to do.
No. I get that. Cats to do whatever the hell you want, right?
Yeah.
But there would be a self-loathing because you're a cat.
I think you've misunderstood how the feline side of the society thinks of themselves.
I think every day you'd wake up and go, God's sake, I'm still a bloody cat. It's a shit.
Cats don't think like that.
Oh well, I bet some of them do.
Cats don't think like that.
Salem did.
Well, Salem did because he wasn't actually a cat. Salem felt that way because he was trapped in a small body. He wasn't into it as much. Although I bet he loved it. I think he loved being a cat secretly deep down.
No, but to the point, I'm quite liking Ambrose.
Yeah, Ambrose is cool. And I kind of, as much as I do love Salem, the talking cat from the original show, I'm kind of digging Salem as this kind of silent protector kind of role that we've got going right now.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I'm digging it. I like this one more than the first one. I think it came. I think because it was because I now have the complete opener story, it feels more succinct and complete to me.
That's fair. I was going to say that, yeah, there's still some clunky exposition, but ultimately this is still the first episode in many ways. So, still forgiven. It still gets a pass on the clunky exposition for now.
Yeah, no, I think this one was better than the first one, probably because it was now the complete story of the opener. And I'm looking forward to seeing more and evil weird sisters and and
I just want to go back to one of the first things I said is it went on about 5 minutes too long.
Oh yeah, was this the stuff back at the school at the end?
Yeah. Just I feel like you had her giving that little speech, right? I'm gonna be both. That's it. Just end your episode on that. Don't give me this 2 or 3, 4 minutes after whatever it was.
They wanted the cliffhanger.
I get that, but I feel like it was such a good ending to end on your episode.
No, I thought it was going to cut to the credits at the end of that scene. I did.
Yeah, it's. I mean, ultimately, the content itself that's after isn't really a problem. You would have just you just put it at the start of the next episode. It's fine.
Yeah. I think it was like they chose to end it on a dark cliffhanger with her crying to no, this is going to be hard. She thinks she's made this stand, and she has made this stand, but it's going to be turbulent. It's going to be tough. It's going to be difficult, and so I get what they're doing with it. I agree that maybe the uplifting kind of speech part of it was maybe more of a better kind of swan.
I think
song
it was just
at
a
the
good
end.
ending, and then you can just bring it back down and be crushing throughout the rest of the season if needs be.
I'm impressed with the pace, though. It definitely feels like it's got its own brisk pace. It's not slowing things down to stretch things out for 10 episodes. It's moving.
No, so far so good. I have no. Again, I think the only pacing criticism that we've had is the last episode kind of ended suddenly because it kind of just split in half for this.
And it's funny, you're like, well, why not just make that a double first? And it's like, but then I've got 9 episodes, and having 10 looks better, and people can just go at the second one anyway. So it's not like. And I'm like,
and let's be honest, we've seen this on broadcast TV where they're still split 2 weeks. They're a week apart,
and it really hurts the first one in that sense usually.
It does, yeah.
Whereas this one wasn't as much, I don't think.
Not as much, just the ending, where it's nowhere near as bad as we have seen of this exact problem before.
Absolutely, no. So Sabrina's very good. Still hoping for Cthulhu. I want to point that out. Cthulhu's still on my wish list.
Telling you, that's season 3.
I mean, it may be. You build up. See, season 2, you have the dark breakup with Harvey. Everything's not so sweet.
Yeah, I mean, season 1, you're doing Satan. I think season 2, you probably do that as well. Like, you go, okay, he's, Sabrina gets some sort of victory at the end of the first season.
But he's not gone.
He's not gone. Is he coming back? And then season 3, you do Cthulhu. Unless you want to do Cthulhu in the middle and then have the Satan's revenge.
Here's a question. The teasing that someone killed their parents, is that solved by the end of this season, or is that going to be a longer game?
Is it bad that I don't care?
God, you're so negative. I'm
No,
having
no,
fun with
no.
this show. You're just
No.
like...
This isn't even negative. It's just, it's not. I
Well,
feel
well,
that's
well,
someone's killed the. It's so I've seen it a million times that I don't care yet.
the less negative way to phrase that would be I don't mind.
Okay,
I don't
fine.
mind either way. Either way's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm just. It's one of those ideas that I've seen done to death. You know, oh no, parents were in an accident, or it wasn't really an accident, right? And I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's just kind of there. It's ticking along in the background. I just whatever. Do whatever you want.
I can be pretty cynical at times, but you make me look like the good cop, like almost all the time.
I do. I don't do it intentionally.
You really do. And then some people have the
I still
gall to.
mostly enjoy this episode.
Some people have the gall to put in the comments that I always disagree with you. It's because you always have these weird, dark, cynical viewpoints that I have to try and bring some light to.
Yeah, no, I know. I still like. I'm still into the show for the most part. There's just these couple of elements. Like I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Good. That's all mention. Also mention the fact that the sisters, after they did their trick with the boys, the bullies, they've made them impotent. Their manhood are birds in a cage, and until the birds are released from the cage, they can't get an erection again. That was amusing. I'll give it to them.
It's pretty evil,
Especially for a teenage boy. Well. Is it more evil? I mean, I feel like if you're someone who's, like, say, in your 40s, you may actually be worried it might be a serious thing, that something bad's happening. I mean, I suppose it still feels serious as a teenager, but it's...
Is it more serious as a teenager? At least in your 40s, it's okay. This is a realistic possibility.
Because that can be a sign of cancer, right? Let's be honest here. I mean, everything can be a sign of cancer, but that can be. It'll be running through your head at that age.
It will, but what I mean is at 40 or 50, whatever. It's like, okay, it's possible, right? Whereas that happens to you at 16, that's got to be terrifying.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, it's not also that uncommon for it to happen in your older age anyway, just as it's not a serious thing. So yeah, I suppose it is scarier as a 16-year-old because it's like, no, this is irregular, this is weird, like why is it not happening? And with the rate that a 16-year-old will masturbate, it will be noticed.
It will, yeah.
It will be noticed heavily.
Yeah.
A 16-year-old after a week doesn't go, do you know what's weird? I've not been in the mood for the last week. That's really bizarre. No, you would notice after a day, like, why haven't I? Why have I not been at it? What's going on?
Pretty much, yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. I like the mood of her whole baptism as well. I like the white dress turning black and, all the...
Yeah, and the other white underneath.
Yeah. They're all very symbolic, and the clothing coming off, and the innocent girl,
the purity underneath. Yeah. It's all there, isn't it? It's classic stuff. That.
Yeah. So no. Now I look forward to more and more. So we'll be back with episode 3 in a day or two, depending, but no later than day after tomorrow. So look forward to that. Let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. If you want to support the channel and the show and everything we do here, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. You can do that over there. Feel warm and fuzzy on the inside, or we'll put a curse on you. Well, not personally.
Yeah.
Although
It'll be a good curse, not some shitty curse that some salt water can fix.
Yeah. I do have some cats, so I've even got a black cat. It's funny. I was watching this, and Wesker, my black cat, was lying on top of me, and I was like, you look like Salem. You look exactly like him. And I was like, look at you, little star looking like you, and I was petting him. Salem was on the screen. Anyway, thank you very much, guys, for watching or listening. We also appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?